Well, it only took one race for Jett Lawrence to get back up on the top step of the podium. I think a lot of people wouldn't be surprised if he won per se based on his results in the 450 class, but also on the flip side of the coin, a lot of people wouldn't be surprised if he didn't win because of the injury that he's coming off of. He's had some time off. This is the first big injury he's faced since his collarbone injury all the way back in his rookie year in 2020. And for him to just come out, go 2-1, and take the overall from Eli Tomac was a commanding ride.
Yeah, good point. I did not view it that way. And now that you lay it out in that aspect, it was a win-win situation for him regardless. Whether he won the race or didn't win the race, it was unfair to expect too much of him, but then it was unfair to not expect the possibility of him actually winning the race. So yeah, now that you say it that way, man, like what a win-win scenario for him going into the weekend. And then of course he freaking won.
Yeah, it's absolutely mind-boggling. And I think back to last year's race at Charlotte ZMAX Dragway, and this was the round that he struggled at. So going into this weekend, I was thinking, okay, he struggled here last year. He's on a new bike for the first time. He's coming off an injury. He's been off racing for quite a while, and he's coming back from an injury to where Eli Tomac and Cooper Webb had this similar injury, and they documented this on the broadcast, to where Jett's timeline from when he had surgery to his first day back of racing was quite a bit shorter than Eli Tomac's and Cooper Webb's. It's just kind of a very Jett Lawrence-esque performance. Amazing towards the end of the moto, but kind of has worked his way, he let that moto win kind of come to him and that overall come to him. First moto, Eli was just gone. He was on it. And Jett was just like, I'm going to take my second. This is great. And I feel like midway through Moto 2, Jett realized like, dude, I could hang with Tomac. And he started putting the charge in, and he was clearly faster than Eli throughout the later stages of the moto. And the number one is just, he's number one for a reason, that's for sure.
Yeah, 101. What a 180. Because now that you bring that up, last year watching him race there, it was the first time I remember seeing him get passed.
Yep.
Because we had the whole nationals of him going undefeated. So for 12 rounds, we did not see him get passed by anybody. And then we go to ZMAX last year, and I think he got passed by like 3 or 4 riders.
I want to say so,
yeah. The first moto, so it's just crazy to be like, oh, the dude's human.
Yeah.
In that sense. But yeah, he came out this weekend just looking much better. It looked like he quickly adapted. I don't know if adapted, but like found his groove again. Mm-hmm. It seemed like you could watch him in practice. In first moto, he's riding like Jett, but not quite the dominant Jett. And then come second moto, halfway through, it's like, oh, okay, he's back to old form.
Yeah.
That's fast.
Yeah, it's very quick escalation. But speaking of found his groove, Eli Tomac, return of the Mac.
Yeah.
He was a guy who was on a mission. Awesome to hear a YZ450 at probably 13,000 RPM or something stupid like that going down the straightaway because...
Multiple times.
Yeah, multiple times. And we were talking about it in the preview show. This style of racing and track really fits into Eli Tomac's strengths. And I think we saw that early in Moto 1. Whole shot, and the dude's gone, and he can hold it wide open and charge so hard into some of these corners. Eli's riding style and this format really played into his hand, and for him to get second overall, he was right there and really placed himself well heading into the final leg of this championship. There's only 2 races to go, but he's not mathematically out of this thing, and as we go into a double points round and even to a triple points round for the finale, Eli Tomac could be a well thought out title pick, as you alluded to in our preview show.
I hope so, man. I really enjoyed the track because it was really fun to just watch the riders hold it wide open for a while and get to pin it. We get to see that on the motocross track, but usually there's either some rollers or some sort of obstacle there that prevents them from just laying on the gas. And during Eli leading, there's numerous times on the broadcast where he's going down the straightaway and you hear that bike just fucking screaming. And you don't hear many other people ride a 450 like that. So I just, as a rider that we all can relate to, you just really appreciate when you see somebody of that level riding a bike that hard. I remember watching them land from, I think there's 2 doubles and then there's a long straightaway, and they'd land from the second double and almost wheelie half of the straight. I just thought that was so cool. It kind of reminded me of an old school like 80s Supercross track mixed with a newer one with some big jumps. I thought it was cool that they didn't fill every section of the track with obstacles. They let a lot of open ground be open and a few kind of odd rollers here and there that they could double or time if they wanted to. to get back to Eli, man, I think I teared up watching him that first moto. I was just, as a competitor, I was so excited to see him get out front and kind of get back what I feel like he was cheated from out of that championship. Granted, it's just a race win, but to see him get a good start, push to the front, and check out, I think you could see it just in his riding and then his whip when he won the race. Like, he was excited, and as he should be. Like, so congrats, Eli. Welcome back.
Yeah. Let's move on to our third place rider this weekend, Chase Sexton. 4-3 on the day. He seemed a little bit bummed, especially after the second moto when it was Eli and Jett. And Chase was right there. He would make up some time, then kind of lose some time. So a little bit of a yo-yo effect going on. But eventually, I want to say got dropped, but he just kind of lost the toe from those top two. You sent me a video from Whiskey Throttle Media, I believe, where Chase was talking about bike setup. And he was just saying about 10 minutes through the moto, he just couldn't really feel the front end anymore. He's feeling a lot of fatigue through his arms and his hands. And it sounded like bike setup was playing hindrance into his results over the weekend.
We know what it's like just to ride a normal motocross bike that isn't set up well, meaning maybe it's a hair on the stiff side. So I can't imagine riding a supercross bike and then having a really long straightaway where you're clicking up 2 gears and going God knows how fast, and then slamming on the brakes and trying to eat up some braking bumps. It's one thing in supercross for them to hit a rhythm section, land, and have to immediately brake, bowl corner, and drive out and exit, versus this was a lot of long straights with a lot of longer period of braking as they go into it. So I could see that definitely exaggerating the negative ride quality that he was talking about, like not getting what he wanted from the bike. I can't see it being that much better, meaning if they make it that much more comfortable for those bumps, he would have a much harder time doing some of those rhythms that they were doing as well. I have a hard time believing that anybody else he's racing against has that much better overall of a setting. Meaning they're going around and not feeling any bumps, but yeah, they can still jump all the triples and quads and do everything. Not discounting the bike can't be better. That's always the case, and that's how it's what you always strive for. But I hope they're not that far off the spec. I have a hard time believing that. I think it's just that far off. But you know, maybe there's a little bit, and that little bit can be that big of a difference to him mentally as a rider, to physically ride differently. So I guess my 2-part answer is no for the bike, yes for the rider. Like, I mean, I don't think I have a hard time believing the bike was that bad. It would prevent him from making up the extra second that he was behind him. But I do believe it could be enough to where he just wasn't fully committing. But that's just not really Chase. He goes for it regardless.
Just to rattle through a couple other names real quick, Jason Anderson ended up opting out of the race from his gnarly practice crash in the sand. It looked like he busted up his face a little bit, so he went down freaking hard. Yeah, Justin Barsha, another guy who unfortunately pulled out on his return back after having some double knee injuries and just drifted a little too wide in the rhythm section. Ultimately ended up going down, but it sounds like he'll be back for Texas as well as Jason Anderson.
Awesome.
Jessica Cooper had a great day. Solid day for Ken Roxon, 5-5. A little bit quiet in the sense of not a lot of screen time, but really riding well.
Yeah.
And just right there. And I feel like maybe even it's this round or the finale in Las Vegas where we could see Ken Roxon pull a great start and lead some laps and really make this thing interesting.
For sure.
Playing spoiler for Sexton, Lawrence, or Tomac in either one's favor.
Yeah, you're right, Max. I mean, before his injury, was it St. Louis?
Nashville.
Nashville, when he had the shock malfunction, like, that was his Roxon being Roxon once again. It's showing you that, hey, I'm a top 5, top 3 dude, and also a competitive winner at any time.
Yep.
So, man, I'm excited he's back.
This is the 450 recap show from ZMAX Dragway, North Carolina. We will have a 250 preview show up on the Ride JBI YouTube channel for you guys. Check that episode out as well. We will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.